Hello and welcome to the New Mindset podcast. This is Georgia.
And this is Jacob.
Jacob, how you going?
I am good.
What's the latest?
We went for a big walk, the earliest morning walk I've done because my mornings tend to be filled with a little more anxiety than, the rest of my day. And was able to battle through that, even though halfway through the walk there was a little bit of a panic. Not a full-blown panic attack, but the start of one. And I found it useful, the air being a little bit colder, and I just, not in a hippie way or anything, cold exposure just seems to work for me for whatever reason, and it just, grounds my anxiety a little bit. So that was good. And I got through that, so that was good. Like, it didn't develop into anything, and I'm feeling good. How are you feeling?
I'm ready to crack a lack. I had a big day of that actually made one of my students laugh the other day when I said crack a lack. They're like, what does that mean? But I had about 7 hours of teaching yesterday and 5.5 hours of auditions today.
Get keen.
But I'm excited. I love it. I get to see over 100 kids perform monologues for Wizard of Oz, which is really cool. Really excited about what the kids are going to bring and work with so many of them in the future for the musical.
Yeah. And on Wizard of Oz, Winston made Toto.
He made the cut.
In the promo.
Yeah.
Just in the promo, but that's pretty cool.
Well, in the Courier Mail, there was like a massive page and it said Winston Carrigan.
Winston New.
Yeah, I know, but it said Carrigan because my name's Carrigan.
That's not right. He's Winston New.
Winston New.
But no, it was funny. He didn't even have to audition or anything. You guys were just desperate. So he got in there.
He got in.
Nice. This is going to be a bit of a shorter podcast because you've got to run off to audition soon. But,
I do.
Let's get started.
But we had to talk about a very topical, or maybe something that's just at the forefront of Jacob's mind. I know in a lot of our conversations you've been reflecting a bit about how far you've come with your anxiety and what maybe was a catalyst for its growth a few years back. And you've titled this podcast episode, Anxiety is Catching Fire.
Yeah, I went creative.
Yeah,
went creative.
I like it. So for those of you who maybe are tuning in just for the first time now, in our New Mindset podcast, we do talk about a lot of things anxiety and confidence related. So do you just want to give us a little recap of what is anxiety for anyone who's joining us new?
Yes, I can. I'm trying to define it every episode. We talk about anxiety, trying to make it a little more succinct, and it's so hard to define because it's such a...
how it relates specifically to this episode too.
Yeah. So I think just it's something everyone experiences, but some people obviously have higher levels, than others, and it's dictated by environment and or genetics, from what we know of at the moment. And essentially that just leads to irrational fears that then can interfere with life. So anxiety is, it pumps out that irrational fear that we saw in Inside Out 2 with the illustrations. And then if it interferes with life, then that's when there is an issue. Like today, I wanted to go out for brekkie, but because I've been slack with taking my medication, my anxiety is sky high at the moment. So I just needed a bit of a reset and a bit of a, pull it all together and get back to the 1%ers. And we went for that big walk and had some good food and did a clean and I'm feeling good. But yeah, that's what I mean, like interfering with life, that's when there's a problem.
Yeah. So when you say anxiety is catching fire and you get creative, what do you mean in that instance?
Essentially, I've just been thinking about it, and since COVID, my anxiety has been quite high, and I've just been trying to figure out why. And not just my anxiety, but a lot of people's anxiety. And I think when you've got anxiety, it's a very clever part that wants to manipulate your environment to keep you safe by all means. So that means less going out, less traveling in a car, less anything that could be dangerous to you. And I think the catching fire, I want to use the word convenience. Convenience is hurting our anxiety.
Right.
Yeah. What?
So catching... Well,
you just gave me a real weird face.
Well,
so it's just, essentially it's convenience. So, with technology growing, it's hurting our anxiety. Just, mate, you're off today.
Sorry.
But yeah, just the convenience is hurting our anxiety. And I'll speak from just my standpoint anyway. Like humans are just such social creatures. Like we need human contact, and we need to be speaking with people every day. And you know, that's when you get a bit older. That's the issue that we face when, you know, there's elderly on their own. They sort of become a little less, you know, socialized, and that's impacts their mental health. But I find that it's actually happening to younger people now. And it's genuinely, it's going to be a massive problem. I don't know if it is right now or if it will be in future, but the more tech grows, the more convenience will be in our life, which will then impact us mentally.
So the tech is making life more convenient, and that level of convenience is what is making anxiety grow.
Yeah.
Well, that's your personal experience.
Yeah, and then I was just looking outside of just my life, and it will, like, anxiety will do anything to protect itself, and if you allow it, then you're going to become very, you know, you're not going to be very social, and it's just going to lead to all sorts of health problems. And just a few of those examples, you know, when I say convenience is hurting our anxiety, I'm talking food delivery. So, like, you know, ordering food from places, which I've had. Like, so when I'm hungry and if there's no food in there, or even if there is food in there, I should walk down to the grocery market like everyone else would have typically done 5 or 10 years ago. But now it's so easy to just go, oh, okay, I'll just order this. And I don't have to walk down there. I don't have to speak to anyone. I don't have to get, you know, all the panic attacks. But what that does is that fuels our anxiety for when it happens again in future. And now you've let your anxiety win. So now it can sort of hop off that win and let's see, okay, how else can I manipulate this person?
Yeah, well,
or
if it's
my
like,
person?
if I can get away with making them, you know, if I can just share the progression that I've seen, if it's like, well, if I can, because we talked about how we want to, just for our own health, make more food at home rather than order things out.
Yep.
So the anxiety will say, oh, well, yeah, I don't feel like cooking. Let me order something, order a pre-made meal. And it's like, oh, okay, well, if I don't want to do that, but I can still be healthy and I can still order groceries out as well. So it's that, when you say it's the anxiety manipulating the situation, it's making it like, well, I can still be a good person and I can still be healthy, but I can still bow into making my anxiety feel comfortable.
Yeah, anxiety's clever.
Is that right?
Man. Anxiety's clever. Yeah, like for it to be able to dictate your environment. And a few other, like food delivery is just one of them.
Yeah.
But I've listed a few down here. Online shopping is a big one. You know, just the convenience of not having to go into a big shopping mall is just massive. Driving there, parking, you know, everything.
If you're doing clothes shopping, trying on the clothes, asking the attendant, hey, I don't want this size, I want this size.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going by yourself.
Yep. That working from home is a big one. That's honestly probably the biggest one in the last 5 years. I've had a few jobs where you 100% work from home, and then, you know, if you haven't gone for that morning walk, it gets to 5 p.m. and you're like, I haven't even left the house yet. And then, you know, if you do that over a few days, then you're creating this environment where anxiety is just growing stronger. And anxiety, like we said, is not a bad thing, but it has to be cared for and looked after, and in everything in moderation. The fact that, you know, your anxiety is fueling and growing this extra muscle. Like, you know, when we came out of COVID, because we were barely allowed to leave home, my anxiety was just so strong when I got out, and I'm sort of just coming to the end of that now, and that's taken 2 years, which is nuts. But, you know, I'm lucky that I sort of picked up that there was an issue there and was able to, that's why I wanted to make this episode. And I think it's just, you know, like, we're not going to feel the effects of that COVID lockdown still. We can still feel those effects for many years to come. Just anxiety-wise there. And then studying from home, you know, same sort of thing as working from home. FaceTiming friends and family members opposed to going out and making the effort to, you know, travel down to, you know, in our case, you know, you've got family in Sydney, so it could be just as easy to, you know, call them every now and then, but why not plan something, you know, where they come up here or you go down there every now and then, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's, and even for friends and family that are close, like I know I FaceTime my family and they're in Brisbane, and we're in Brisbane, and it's just, you know, just slack, and that just lets anxiety win again. And then the thing, this is very relevant for men and boys, is just, and obviously some women and girls do this too, but gaming online gaming.
Yeah.
Like I know sometimes the only time I'll speak to friends is when I
Through a
was
game.
playing PlayStation stuff,
Yeah.
which I just stopped that habit, so that's gone. But it's just, modern day conveniences are so awesome because, we just naturally your brain wants the easiest resolution and the most dopamine. And for this, it's just going to hurt our anxiety, and it is hurting our anxiety. Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Like, do you find that? Even you're not someone that's anxious, but these conveniences sort of make you a little bit less, brave, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially
And I would,
you,
and also I'll say, sorry, just quick with the, quick. Okay, you go.
well, when you said specifically more often than not men in the gaming space, but there are obviously women in there. Just to give a female example from someone who may not have diagnosed generalized anxiety, but to relate to women, it might be the online shopping piece.
Yep.
And looking at different online stores to see what type of return policy people have so that you can try on as much as you like, receive some kind of credit or make sure that there is value in just trying on without the fear of returning and keeping on exchanging for a proper size of clothing. That is something that fuels remaining in your own safe bubble.
Yep.
Rather than stepping out of your comfort zone and going to the shops to try on the clothes in the actual store in face of not wanting to be uncomfortable or put yourself in a situation where, you have to engage with another human being.
Yeah. Well, if someone's anxiety is strong enough and they're allowing it to dictate, like you tell me, like how could someone just live at home permanently and not leave the house? And that would be, agoraphobia. And they can. Like you could see a doctor from home, you can see a vet from home. Like it's nuts. It's crazy.
You can just get a treadmill and put it in your place and you can walk.
You can straight up do it.
Yeah.
And it would be terrible. Like it would be so crap.
Yeah.
It's going to be this is going to have to be a bigger episode later down the track because I'm just realising how big of a issue this actually is. And COVID 100% played a role.
Do you think it was a big catalyst for the start of all of this?
Yeah, it just... Well, when I said working from home and studying from home, like I fell into both of those boxes and it hurt my anxiety big time. And it just, COVID sort of forced employers to get employees to work from home. So technology grew and they invested more money into that, the computer and the equipment and all that. So...
And ensuring that there is still engagement between an employer and an employee. The skyrocketing of team and Zoom calls to make sure that everyone is still engaged regardless of where we are. And so we see all of these engagements and these interactions and it's like, well, of course I can work from home. And making employees even demand more from their employers to say, well, I am more productive at home.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that will be a thing on its own. Another episode, just, if us working from home, like how does that affect our mental state? And it's massive. Like there's obviously conveniences, but moderation again. I know a lot of businesses are doing 2 days in office, 3 days from home, and that's awesome. But like some people, like some of my jobs were 5 days at home, and the only time you're seeing people is online.
Yeah.
And I've got you and I've got friends and family, but if I didn't have that, well, that's my... And a lot of my older friends don't have that. Like they just, they're single and they're in their 50s and, they don't have kids. And it's just, man, that's your only time to socialise. And that's been taken away.
Yeah.
It just, like if, major anxiety is terrible, but I'll tell you, like depression is worse. And that's what you'd sort of go down if you're just on your own all day. And these conveniences are just fueling your life and you're not fighting back because... It's so easy to be trapped in this. Like your anxiety is not at the forefront of people's mind all the time. So you could get 6 months down the track and it's like, holy crap, I've just developed this terrible habit of ordering food and it's so much more expensive and now I put on weight and now, my anxiety's fueled and it's ready to pounce and, now I've got to fight back this momentum, this huge bad momentum wave. I've got to wrestle it back now. And
from how far it's come.
Yeah, like, I can relate to all of that, and I think a lot of people can. But I think it's just, we've just got to identify where we're at and make sure that that's at the forefront of our mind, and we're not being naive to the fact that, technology and, people like businesses and things like that target this. Like, there's a reason why, Uber and online shopping and everything is huge. Like, there's a reason for that, and they target it so much because, humans want convenience. Yeah.
So in a world that is shaped that way now, given that we've said and we've described what it is like,
Yep.
how can we continue to test our anxiety in this environment?
Yeah, well, we've got to be strong enough to, tell anxiety that you're not the ruler. You're not the dictator of me. Yeah, like I said, it's just putting that emphasis on, where you actually are now. Like, you've got to sort of step back and, see where you're at and notice the habits that are forming in your life. And I suppose that can come through, reflection, or like mine is that journaling, journal 100 words a day.
And you've been very good with that.
Yeah, it sort of has to be. It has to be. Because if I don't, then I sort of just lose where I'm at. Because, you don't sort of sit there and, wait, what are you doing? Pointing
That's
at yourself.
me.
Yeah, you don't just, you just don't know yourself, or you don't know what you're feeling. You don't know what's going on. But I think so like I said, don't be naive or stupid and think that this isn't happening to you, because it's happening to everyone. Convenience is hurting you.
Yeah.
But my big thing is, at the moment, well, I'll make sure it happens every week, but making sure I go into the shopping, grocery shopping, and pick things out. And then, it takes, an extra 20 minutes, but, you're there building that relationship with your anxiety.
Or even if you do, like, one thing that we've actually loved to do is click and collect, just purely from a saving standpoint, because I'm notorious for going around every single aisle and finding something.
Yep.
So even if you do go down that click and collect pathway and it's just for time convenience, maybe something that we've done is, and something that's easy for everyone to do, is just have one grocery item that you do need to go into the store to collect.
Yeah. Little bits of exposure.
And then you can
key.
bump that up to 2 things that you need to get. Or you want to make sure that you get the freshest strawberries rather than the ones that they collect. So make sure that you go in and get those strawberries.
Well, I'll tell you, it's like I said, momentum and building that wave. There was a few months ago where I probably had a little bit of agoraphobia. Nothing like any, someone that's actually diagnosed, but I had that little bit of, this massive fear of leaving the house, way back when.
Yeah.
And, little wins like driving down click and collect at the grocery market. Okay, cool. That's one. I can do that. Okay, so next time I'm going to go in and get prawns or the fresh strawberries. Okay, cool. So I've done that now. That's crazy. I didn't know I could do that. Next time I'm going to do half of the grocery list. Okay, it's just little steps, and you don't want to. That's what I'm saying. Building that relationship with your anxiety, and it's respecting the fact that, hey, you've actually put up these walls with your anxiety. You're the one fueling your anxiety. Anxiety doesn't happen to you. You've created these, the fact that the world is a scary place. And it may have happened to you, like, you may have had trauma around you, but I always like to say it's not your fault, but it's your problem potentially now.
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
no, that's a fair thing to say.
Yeah, like, you may not have been the cause, but you've got to deal with it because no one else is going to do it.
Yeah.
So it's just, those little smart tricks of, not tricking your brain, but you're working with your brain to get back your life. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
Good.
Is there anything more with your own personal experience that you want to share as, like, examples?
No, I think I pretty much shared them, haven't I?
You've done quite a bit.
Yeah, just working from home.
Ordering
food and studying from home. I do like to study from home just because university's,
Hectic
pretty far away.
Busy.
But yeah, no, I think it's good. And then anxiety, like I said, builds and builds and builds. And I sort of had that period after COVID lockdowns where my anxiety was saying, outside is not a good place to be. And like when something goes wrong, embarrassing, like, you could trip over or something or anything, like, anything can be embarrassing or cause anxiety. And when that happens, my anxiety sort of latched on and was like, I told you so. Like, you idiot. I told you this was going to happen. And then you're sort of bowing down to your anxiety again. But I think since then I've built a really good relationship and I'm now in charge. And I think a lot of people just have to just work really hard to get to that point.
And I think a part that you didn't really emphasize just here, but a really important part for you to, for everyone to highlight is just the importance of journaling and understanding yourself so that you can build that relationship.
Yeah, and on top of journaling, do tracking. So if you want to put in this goal of, hey, I'm going to conquer the grocery store or I'm going to conquer work, it's like, okay, so let's make yourself a 4-week plan. And you can do this yourself, or you can see a psychologist or a counselor, or talk to a friend. And just make these little baby steps. And they're not, they're 1% efforts. They're just 1% improvements. And you can't go from having, major anxiety to now I'm going to do everything, because you may be able to push through and do it, but those panic attacks are going to, just because you have a panic attack doesn't mean that you've done something right or you beat your anxiety. It actually is, you haven't worked successfully with your anxiety. It's not a positive. I think a lot of people may wear that as a badge of honor. I used to. It was like, I did this even though I had a panic attack. It's like, okay, but now tomorrow you're going to be exhausted and not do anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I think just journaling, tracking, and just being, just don't be
Real and
naive.
honest.
Don't be naive.
No, that's good. I like that.
Yeah. Do you reckon that? Do you have any suggestions?
No, like mine would have been the journaling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just
Just
baby
keep it to
steps.
100 words a day.
And celebrate, I would say. I think a lot of people sometimes forget to celebrate. And we as human beings work better off of the back of celebrating our wins as opposed to beating ourselves up about, I didn't get to do this today. But, for example, maybe Jacob didn't get to do, when you were trying to improve your threshold of conquering your anxiety, it would be, maybe I didn't do the groceries, but hey, you took Winnie for a walk. And that's awesome, and that was in the early stages. So it's recognizing those things. And as a support person too, I don't know what perspective you're listening from, but as a support person, recognizing how big these wins are. And you don't have to make them a massive deal, but just acknowledge the effort that it takes, because I know that there were instances where I didn't, and that was bad.
Yeah, it's tough though, because you've come from a place where you don't really experience, or you haven't heard about anxiety or seen it. Like everyone...
but that's the role of the support person, is to empathise.
I think it's just a lot of empathy and trust. I think it's going to have to be another episode again. But I get furious when anxiety gets thrown around on, Instagram, TikTok or whatever. But yeah, if anyone's had anxiety and panic attacks and all that, how it's bloody debilitating. And it's a legit thing. But yeah, I think I've been very lucky to have your support. And then, my past experience and, now not going to the grocery market or not taking Winnie on a big walk is that just feels really weird to say. Because this morning we did a huge walk. Yeah. And then I might drive you into the city.
Stop it.
But yeah, maybe. Just little things like that is just I know I can do that now, and you sort of capture that back, and it's a good feeling. The last thing I'll say just quickly, because I know we're running short on time, is negotiate with your anxiety. You sort of lent on that. Yeah. If I go and do this thing, if I go to work or if I go to university, you got to negotiate. So when I get home, maybe I can have some ice cream.
Yeah.
If you're not lactose intolerant. Or you can have, you can watch this movie. But like I've always said, you just have to promise yourself that you do that. You give yourself that reward, because your anxiety is not a fool, and it will catch you out next time you say, hey, if we can do this, I'll do this for me. And if, your anxiety will turn around and say, well, you didn't do it last time. So no, I'm going to play up. So I think healthy negotiation.
No, that's cool.
I'm happy with that. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing.
That's okay. Have you got a checkout question for me this week?
I do. My checkout question is, what superpower would you have?
Oh my God, you got the boring job interview
questions.
Okay,
well, I have this one. Okay. Out of all of the little Mr. and little Mrs., who would you be?
I don't even know the little
Or if you could create one. I have mine.
What's yours? We'll hear yours.
Mine is Little Miss Loud.
Yeah, that's so obvious.
I'm a loud person, but not in an arrogant or obnoxious way. I just am loud.
Yeah, you're just.
I have
happy.
A lot of sound.
You're just happy, joyful. You're joyful.
Thank you.
What do you think? I remember angry. I remember sad. I remember happy. What do you think I am? I don't really remember all of them.
Mr.
I think optimistic. If there's an
Mr. Optimistic. There isn't one, but we'll make one.
I'll make it.
There
Optimistic.
Mr. Optimistic.
Good.
I like it.
That's a good question. See, you're on a good start now.
I'm on a roll.
On a roll.
Next time I'll have a better one.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, thank you. I hope you enjoy your big drama day.
I will. Hope you enjoy your relaxing day.
A study day.
Oh,
I
study
got my
day.
exam on Wednesday.
Oh, true. Well, good luck.
All right, awesome. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.